At midnight, a prisoner crossed 6 locked rooms and a rooftop, then returned downstairs because he had forgotten his blanket. That ridiculous detour should have ended everything, yet he escaped Newgate Prison and turned London's strongest jail into a national joke. Across history, prisons projected authority through stone walls, armed guards, locked doors, and promises that nobody inside could simply leave. But every secure system contains assumptions, routines, forgotten spaces, and officials who eventually stop imagining that prisoners might think differently. The greatest escapees studied habits, exploited architecture, created distractions, and transformed ordinary objects into tools. Their guards never considered dangerous. Some escaped alone across rooftops, while more than 100 prisoners vanished together through a tunnel beneath a guarded city. These escapes embarrassed governments, because each prisoner transformed institutional confidence into the weakness that opened a path toward freedom. The first story begins in 18th century London, where a young carpenter became famous for escaping prisons rather than committing crimes. Jack Sheppard was born in 1702 and trained as a carpenter, learning practical skills that later frustrated London's most experienced jailers. He understood wood, locks, walls, roofs, and tools, giving him an unusual advantage whenever officials placed barriers around him. Sheppard began stealing during his apprenticeship and entered London's criminal world, where poverty, taverns, informers, and corrupt officials frequently overlapped. His crimes were ordinary, but his repeated ability to leave locked buildings made him a celebrity among London's working poor. During one confinement, Sheppard loosened bars and squeezed through an opening guards considered too narrow for any adult prisoner. His slight build helped, but patience mattered more because every escape required waiting until guards treated familiar routines as harmless. After another arrest, visitors distracted officials while Sheppard removed a weakened window bar and changed into clothing brought for escape. He passed through the prison disguised, reached the Thames, and disappeared before embarrassed officials realized their famous prisoner had vanished. Each escape increased his reputation, but fame made hiding harder because portraits, descriptions, and rumors traveled quickly through London. Authorities captured him again and placed him inside Newgate's strongest section, known as the Castle, with heavy irons and chains. Jailers believed more metal solved the problem, yet Sheppard studied the padlocks and proved their strongest precautions remained vulnerable. He freed his hands, removed chains, and climbed a chimney until an iron obstruction blocked the narrow route above him. Instead of abandoning the plan, Sheppard removed the obstruction and used it as a tool for breaking through the ceiling. He entered an unused upper room, then forced through several locked barriers leading toward the prison chapel and roof. Still wearing leg irons, he crossed the dark interior while guards remained below, trusting locks more than careful observation. Reaching the rooftop created another problem, because Newgate stood high above neighboring buildings and offered no convenient path downward. Sheppard returned to his original cell, recovered a blanket, climbed upward again, and used the fabric to cross the gap. That return made the escape legendary because most fugitives would never voluntarily retrace their steps inside a nearly defeated prison. He reached a neighboring roof, entered a private house, descended through sleeping rooms, and walked into London's streets around midnight. For several days, his leg irons remained attached, until he persuaded someone with tools to remove them without exposing him. London celebrated through pamphlets, songs, gossip, and stage entertainment, transforming an imprisoned thief into a celebrated working-class folk hero. Officials captured Sheppard again after he returned to drinking, fashionable clothing, and the city where everyone recognized his story. This time, jailers used massive restraints, constant observation, and public visitors determined their most embarrassing prisoner would never disappear again. Sheppard's final escape plan failed, but his earlier victories permanently damaged Newgate's image as an institution capable of control. His story showed that more locks never guarantee security when one person understands how every separate barrier actually works. But Sheppard escaped through practical skill. The next prisoner used planning, theater, and the architecture of a Venetian. Casanova faced 5 years inside, although authorities never clearly explained accusations involving religion, gambling, morality, and his unconventional public behavior. He received a small cell, basic furniture, darkness, heat, and enough isolation to make escape planning necessary daily work. Casanova found a piece of metal and gradually shaped it into a pointed tool capable of cutting and prying materials. He hid the tool carefully and began working beneath his bed, intending to open a route through the floor. Progress remained slow because noise attracted guards, debris required concealment, and every inspection threatened months of patient secret work. Just before completing the opening, officials unexpectedly transferred Casanova to another cell, apparently ruining the entire escape plan immediately. His hidden tunnel was discovered, yet he persuaded the jailer that falling masonry caused the damage rather than deliberate excavation. The explanation was weak, but uncertainty protected him, and Casanova began designing a second plan from his new cell. He secretly communicated with another prisoner, Father Marino Balbi, using books and messages carried through ordinary daily prison routines. Casanova passed the sharpened tool to Balbi, who began opening a route upward through his ceiling toward the roof. Balbi eventually reached the space above, crossed toward Casanova's cell, and opened the ceiling so both men could join. The escape required crossing the palace roof, entering another section, and leaving without appearing like prisoners breaking from confinement. On the chosen night, they climbed through the opening and emerged beneath the lead roof into darkness and heavy fog. The steep surface was dangerous, yet fog concealed them from anyone watching nearby windows or Venice's surrounding nighttime skyline. Casanova wore better clothing beneath his prison garments, knowing appearance would become essential inside the palace's public areas later. They searched for an opening, crossed difficult roof sections, and eventually reached a window leading into the rooms below. After forcing access, the pair entered offices inside the Doge's palace, no longer confined but still surrounded by locked exits. They rested, changed appearance, and waited for morning because wandering the Grand Palace at night would immediately attract suspicion. When a palace attendant encountered them, Casanova behaved like an irritated gentleman accidentally locked inside after routine official business. His clothing, confidence, and location supported the performance, causing the attendant to see respectable visitors rather than escaped prisoners. The attendant opened the main exit, effectively helping the fugitives leave through the staircase used by legitimate palace guests. Casanova and Balbi stepped outside, entered a gondola, crossed the water, and continued quietly towards safety beyond Venetian authority. The escape became famous across Europe because Casanova later published a dramatic account filled with suspense and remembered details. Some details came mainly from his memoir. So modern historians approach the most theatrical moments with reasonable caution today. Still, the central escape is real. Two prisoners crossed the roof and walked from the Doge's palace through its entrance. Casanova succeeded because confident behavior and respectable clothing defeated guards, expecting desperate fugitives to look obviously suspicious or frightened. Yet Casanova escaped with one companion. The next operation required secrecy among many prisoners inside a crowded wartime warehouse. During the American Civil War, Richmond's Libby Prison held captured Union officers inside a converted tobacco warehouse near the James River. The building looked ordinary outside, but guards, barred windows, crowded rooms, and surrounding streets made any escape extremely difficult. Conditions worsened as prisoner exchanges slowed, leaving officers uncertain whether captivity would last months, years, or the entire war. Colonel Thomas Rose studied the prison's lower levels and identified a basement area guards considered unpleasant and largely unusable. Prisoners called part of this dark space rat hell, reflecting dampness, vermin, debris, and conditions discouraging frequent regular inspection. That neglect created opportunity because a place guards avoided could become a hidden workshop directly beneath the entire prison. Rose and a small group accessed the basement through a fireplace area, carefully concealing movement from prisoners and guards. They planned a tunnel toward a nearby shed beyond the prison boundary, allowing escapees to emerge away from the street. The route required digging through packed earth with improvised tools while removing soil without creating an obvious visible pile. Men worked in small teams, with one digging, another moving dirt, and others watching routines above for unexpected danger. Loose earth was hidden around the basement, spread beneath debris, and carried in containers disguised as ordinary prison activity. Ventilation became another problem because a narrow underground passage quickly became impossible to work inside safely for extended periods. The prisoners improvised methods moving air toward the tunnel face, turning simple materials into equipment for hidden underground engineering. Several earlier routes failed because foundations, obstacles, or incorrect direction placed diggers somewhere they could not safely emerge outside. Each failure consumed time and energy, yet the group concealed all evidence and began again rather than abandoning escape. Finally, the tunnel reached the basement area beneath a warehouse shed directly across the street from Libby Prison itself. On February 9, 1864, the organizers entered the passage first, giving themselves time before revealing the route to others. News spread through the prison, and officers began disappearing downstairs, while guards continued following their normal nighttime routines above. One by one, men crawled through the confined passage and emerged inside the distant shed beyond the guarded perimeter. By morning, an extraordinary 109 Union officers had escaped together from Libby Prison through the hidden underground tunnel successfully. Richmond authorities discovered the breakout after daylight and quickly launched patrols, soldiers, and tracking efforts across the surrounding countryside. Escaped officers traveled through winter terrain, avoided roads, sought sympathetic civilians, and attempted reaching Union lines east of Richmond. Some received help from local Union supporters, including networks associated with Richmond resident Elizabeth Van Loo and secret sympathizers. Not everyone succeeded. Many were recaptured, and 2 men reportedly drowned while attempting to cross the dangerous James River. 59 escapees ultimately reached Union lines, making the operation the largest and most famous Civil War prison breakout ever. Colonel Rose, despite helping organize the tunnel, was recaptured, proving that creating an escape never guaranteed his own personal freedom. The breakout humiliated Confederate authorities because prisoners conducted a major underground project beneath a guarded building inside their capital. It also demonstrated collective discipline, requiring secrecy, rotating labor, engineering improvisation, and trust among many very different competing personalities. But tunneling beneath a warehouse was conventional. The final prisoners escaped a castle reserved specifically for experienced escape risks. During the Second World War, Germany placed troublesome Allied officers inside Colditz Castle, believing cliffs and walls offered exceptional security. The decision gathered skilled escape planners together, accidentally creating a multinational community intensely focused on defeating one prison system. Colditz contained thick walls, guarded courtyards, locked gates, steep drops, and a town filled with German military personnel below. Prisoners attempted tunnels, disguises, hidden compartments, ropes, forged documents, and routes through castle areas guards considered almost completely inaccessible. British officer Airey Neave joined Dutch officer Tony Luteyn, planning a theatrical disguise instead of climbing Colditz's dangerous exterior. The pair studied German routines and obtained clothing resembling civilian work garments, imitating people normally expected inside the complex. They also prepared forged identity papers and mapped a route through a theater area connected with hidden maintenance access. During January 1942, Neave and Luteyn concealed themselves inside the Castle Theater, waiting until searches and routines moved elsewhere. They changed appearance and emerged dressed as civilian workers, relying upon posture, timing, and confidence to avoid close questioning. The disguise was imperfect, but guards were more likely to notice nervous behavior than every inaccurate minor clothing detail. Neave and Luteyn passed checkpoints, left the castle complex, and entered the town prisoners normally viewed through guarded windows. They moved carefully across Germany using trains and foot travel, depending on forged papers and plausible explanations when questioned. The pair aimed for neutral Switzerland, where crossing the border would finally place them beyond German prisoner of war authority completely. After several tense days, they reached Switzerland, becoming the first British and Dutch officers to escape successfully from Colditz. Their success proved the supposedly escape-proof castle could be defeated without descending cliffs or breaking through every locked gate. Other prisoners continued developing remarkable schemes, including tunnels, elaborate disguises, and a hidden glider intended for possible emergency escape. The glider was never used, but its secret construction demonstrated the extraordinary planning culture created inside Colditz Castle itself. Germany concentrated persistent escapees for easier control, yet allowed techniques, experience, and specialist knowledge to circulate freely among them. Colditz became famous not because escape was easy, but because prisoners repeatedly challenged a system designed around previous failures. Neave later returned to Britain and worked with intelligence helping other escapees, turning experience into support for trapped prisoners. Sheppard defeated locks, Casanova appearances, Libby neglected space, and Colditz routines by noticing ordinary weaknesses their guards consistently ignored. Their escapes produced different outcomes because some gained lasting freedom, while others were recaptured or faced serious consequences later. Successful prison breaks require timing, secrecy, cooperation, improvisation, and luck, with freedom often separated from failure by one detail. These stories remain compelling because secure institutions represent certainty, while every successful escape reveals that certainty was partly performance. Stone walls and iron doors matter, yet human routines determine whether barriers are watched, maintained, questioned, or simply trusted. The greatest escapees never passed through walls. Like ghosts, they found forgotten doors hidden inside someone else's dangerous assumptions. Whenever authorities called a prison escape-proof, history introduced a determined prisoner willing to test that confident claim personally anyway.